You're listening to The Financial Plan, brought to you by Vim Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. The content on this show is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered personalized investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. For guidance on your specific situation, consult a qualified financial professional.
Welcome to The Financial Plan. I am George DiHedino. I've spent 20 years in financial services, and every week I answer the questions that keep you up at night. Let's get to work. So today's first question comes from Pete in Charlotte. Hey, George, I just got the biggest raise of my career, 22%, and I'm honestly pumped. But I also know myself, and if I don't make a plan, I'm just going to start spending more and not even notice. I make about $74,000 a year now, and I'll be at 90. What's the best way to think about this money? I don't want it to just disappear. All right, Pete. So this is amazing. It's an amazing news. Congratulations on the raise. So the way to look at this is, again, if you've watched my other episodes before, I'm not one of these guys that's just going to tell you to save every penny and save for the future. I think you have to enjoy it. If you want to buy yourself a little something, a little congratulatory gift, I'm all for that. Go ahead and enjoy the money for a little bit, but let's set you up for success. You didn't include if you have any debt or anything like that. So let's assume you do have some high interest debt. I think it's important to to put some of that money towards that debt. And by debt, I'm talking about high interest debt. So think about credit cards and stuff like that. If you have a mortgage or anything, I wouldn't recommend paying down a little bit more to that. Just doesn't make sense financially unless that's something you want to do. I think it's important to look at this in the future. If you were to take $500 a month of that raise and put it into the market, right? Historically, over, starting now, you're 31. So historically, looking at historical returns, by the time you're 65, that $500 a month could possibly be about $750,000 in that 30-year time period. So it's important to think of it in that long term. So I would take a look at your expenses. If you can save all of it, that would be amazing, right? But I do want you to kind of enjoy some of that money now. But yeah, I would put away, I would say at least 50% of that raise, I would put away for a rainy day. Make sure you do have, I'm a big proponent of an emergency fund. Make sure you do have 3 to 6 months of expenses there just to make sure that rainy day, something happens, you lose your job or anything like that, you do have some money there and you don't have to go into debt. But I would say 50% of it should be saved for long term. 50% should be either to pay down debt or, enjoy it. And I think it's important to enjoy your life now as well. So again, congratulations. And if you want to further that conversation, or if you want some recommendations on what you should invest in, please reach out to me and I'll help you out. Thank you. Question number 2 is from DeShawn in Ohio. I have $1,200 left over every month after paying all my bills. I'm 27 and I feel like I should be doing something smart with it, but I don't know where to start. I've got a little bit in savings, but no real plan. Help. Okay, awesome. I mean, this is a great position to be in, DeShawn. Having a little bit of cushion at the end of the month is always great. So you say paying all your bills. I don't know if you have any credit card debt. So first things first, let's make sure that you pay down any high interest credit card debt. That's number one. We got to get that off the books. If you have a credit card, I can almost guarantee you it's 20+%, let's say 18+% interest. If you pay down that 18% interest credit card, you're essentially getting an 18% return on money that you would have spent. So I think it's important to pay down. Now, let's talk about the stack that I would recommend that extra money go into. Number one is your 401k match at work. So make sure that you are putting in exactly only up until what your employer matches. So if they match 3%, make sure you're putting in 3%. If they match 5%, make sure you put 5%. If they only match 1%, I would probably only put in 1% as well. That is an instant 100% possibly 100% return on your money. If they match dollar for dollar up to 3%, you put in 3%, they put in 3%. That's 100% return right off the bat. You should 100% be doing that. Now, the next thing is going to be an emergency fund. You do say you have a little bit in savings, so figure out what an emergency fund would be. Don't overfund it either. 3 to 6 months is more than enough for most people. So take a look at what your expenses are and go ahead and fund that as well. After that, I would max out a Roth 401k. You are young. You don't say how much money you make, so I'm going to assume you'll be eligible to deposit into a Roth IRA. So go ahead and max out your Roth IRA. That's going to be about $7,000 for this year. So you should be able to do that. The Roth IRA is a huge benefit, right, for you. You're very young and you've got a long time of compounding with, not having to pay any taxes on the growth of the account. So that's a huge benefit for you. If you do even invest half of that, $600 a month into a Roth IRA and some sort of, market ETF, I don't want to name one because I don't want to recommend one to you, but just using average returns, you should have well over $1 million by the time you turn 65. You're very young, so you've got a long time in the market there. So I think that would be the most important thing. Max out your 401k at work, set up a set up a emergency fund just in case something were to happen, and then max out that Roth 401k, and you should be good to go there. That's a very good start. If you want to talk about what investments that you should pick, please reach out to me, and depending on your time horizon and all that, I'll make a firm recommendation for you. Question number 3 comes from Eric in Nashville. I'm 32 and recently got pitched a whole life insurance policy from a guy at my bank. He said it builds cash value. It's an investment. I'll have it forever. The premium was $380 a month. That felt high to me, but he really pushed it. Am I being sold something I don't need? So here is the honest answer. And by the way, this is just my opinion. Again, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So I feel like I do have some knowledge in the area. For a 32-year-old with a young family and a mortgage, which I'm just making these assumptions, but whole life is very, very rarely the answer to whatever question that you have. I am not a big fan of whole life or permanent life insurance. It just does not make sense to me, and you can do much better with other options. If life insurance is something that you worry about, and again, if you do have small children and you are 32 years old with a mortgage and a family, then I do think you do need some sort of life insurance in the case that something were to happen to you. And let's say you're the sole breadwinner or the lion's share breadwinner of the family. Having life insurance, I think, is very important, but you can solve this very easily and very cheaply with just term insurance. A term life policy for you at 32 years old, assuming you're healthy, should be very cheap, much cheaper than $320 or $380 a month, and that'll take care of that situation. And then you can invest the rest, and then grow the money in that way where you don't have to build cash value and all that. So a $500,000 20-year term for you should be under $100. Again, I'm making assumptions here, and we can run the numbers if you want, but you can just take out a term life insurance, get yourself set up for the next 20 years, and then just invest the rest. There's a phrase that we use, buy term and invest the rest. I think that's the way to go. Unless there's a very specific thing, a very niche thing. The only real permanent life insurance that has made sense to me is there's one product, I don't remember the name and I don't want to, use the company's name anyway, but it does have a long-term care rider that you can attach to it. I'm sure there's some that have that. And that kind of makes sense to me because it's kind of a dual insurance in one where if you do need long-term care when you're older, you could start, eating or using some of that cash value in the account and some of that death benefit in the account for it. That's a very niche product. Again, it's very expensive, and you're paying for an insurance that you might never need. So I think just buying the term for that, solving the equation of right now, and then going and then just investing the rest, and then using that money in case you do need it is the best way to go there. So what that person is not telling you, and again, I was a bank advisor at one point, so I'm very familiar with this type of situation. They make huge commissions off these types of products. And it's one of the reasons why I'd be a little leery of using a bank advisor. Again, I'm not saying that there's no good out there. I know a lot of really, really great bank advisors that put their clients first. But when you have a product like this, which you can make huge commissions off of, that instinct, that human instinct comes in where you have somebody that can possibly afford it. It might not be the best product for you, but you're going to make a lot of money off of it. If you are just a little bit unscrupulous, you might lean towards recommending this to clients that it isn't the best product for. That's why I think the RIA world is the best of the advisor world, just because I don't make commissions off products. Whether you have product A or product B, I get paid the exact same. So I have no push or pull towards one thing or another. I'm just looking out for what's best for you. So that's probably why they're recommending this. Again, I don't know this person, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but I'm going to make an assumption. So I just don't think it's the right product for you, and you can do better elsewhere. If you want to discuss this further, just reach out to me, and we can definitely talk about that. All right, next question is from Simone. George, I know I'm supposed to budget, but I keep failing. I make a plan, I follow it for like 2 weeks, and then I just stop. I've tried every app. I've tried spreadsheets. I feel like something is wrong with me. Why can't I do this? Okay, no, there's nothing wrong with you. Trying to keep a budget is like trying to stick with a diet. I think we've all done the South Beach diet or the Atkins diet at some point. I might have just shown my age there, but yes, it's not. We have this like all or nothing thing where we have going on, and it's just not the right way of doing it. We listen to some people out there on social media, and I'm not going to say the person's name, but chastising you for spending money on coffee and stuff like that. Like that $6 coffee is really going to make a difference in the long term. It's really not, right? So you don't have to. My recommendation here is just stop trying to track everything you do. It's just impossible, and it makes life unfun, right? It makes life like this weird spreadsheet and this weird thing. I don't like it. It's just not useful. It's not helpful. And then you start second guessing everything. Listen, if that $8 latte at the coffee shop is going to bring you some happiness, sure, that $8 coffee, you can make it at home for 25 cents. But how do you put happiness, on, it's impossible to put a price on that. Sitting there and talking to people and people watching or whatever it is that you like to do, or just like the smell of the coffee shop, or just like getting out of the house if you work from home or whatever. It's hard to put price on that. So, trying to look at every single penny you spend or save, it's just not the right way of doing it, and you're never going to keep up with it. Doing that is the equivalent of going on a diet where you're just eating like boiled chicken and white rice or whatever salad 3 meals a day. You're never going to stick with that. You're going to do it, like you say, for 2 weeks, and then you're going to move on from that. So the best way to do this is to automate all of this stuff. The easiest way to save money is by just automating it, and you don't have to think about it. We call it PYF, pay yourself first, right? I was taught this 20 years ago when I first started. Pay yourself first, whether that's, let me look back. So you don't mention, I assume you have a job and you're working. The easiest way to save is your 401k, right? Make sure you're maximizing your 401k. Make sure that's number one right there. You need to do that. So let's assume you're doing that. Just do it automatically, right? When money comes into your account, I'm assuming you get paid on a semi-regular schedule. So you can set it up in your bank account that there's money automatically being transferred over to your investment accounts, to your savings accounts. Just automate it all. Automate your bills. If you put everything on your credit card for credit card points and stuff, automate those bills and put everything on autopilot, right? And that way you don't really have to think about that. And the money that's, left in your account, can be spent or whatever the case may be. So, just doing it by willpower is just not, humans are not made to do it by willpower. You just need systems in place to help you do this, and just automating it is the way to go. On the investment side, you can automate that as well, depending on where you have your accounts. You can do automatic transactions that money comes in, it automatically invests. So all of that is done for you, and you don't even have to think about it. And it's done before or right as your paycheck hits the account, and then it's already gone and you don't have to think about it. So I think that's the way to go. Next question here. My company just announced they're doing a round of layoffs. I don't know if my job is safe. It might be, but it might not be. I'm 45 with a mortgage, 2 kids, and about 4 months of emergency savings. What financial moves should I be making right now before anything happens? Okay. Robert from Denver. Robert, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's a normal thing, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm sorry you're going through this. So 4 months of emergency is pretty decent, not bulletproof. So I think my first step right now is going to be to stop any discretionary spending that you can stop. I think that's going to be important to bulk up that savings as much as you can, so that if that were to happen, then you have as much money as you can saved up. So any discretionary spending that you can stop, that's not going to, hinder your life, is going to be important. So the goal there is to have at least 6 months of savings just in case something were to happen. Right now is a great time to do an expense audit, go through all your expenses, look at any, like I talked about, discretionary spending that you don't really need. Our economy has changed into a very subscription-based economy. So there's probably a lot of transactions in there that you don't even know are happening. Let's be honest. I mean, I don't look at my statement exactly. I just kind of assume, and it's probably not the right way of doing it, but I assume most people are like that. They don't look at their statements. So do an expense audit. Make sure that you're cutting out anything that you really, really don't need. I know you have 45 with 2 kids, so cutting out Netflix or Disney Plus is probably not your best bet, because it's gonna make your life worse. But looking in and trying to cut down on any expenses that you really don't need. Maybe cut down on eating out as much and cooking at home. So just trying to figure out where you can cut some expenses is going to be important right now. Let's try not to touch that 401k and leave that as your absolute last resort. The 401k, I'm sure you have some money in there, but you will get taxed not only on the money coming out, but there are penalties associated with it. So you can be anywhere between 30 and 40% of either taxes or penalties. So that should be your last expense. If you do need to touch it, then it is what it is, and you could have some waivers of the penalties because of job loss and whatnot. So that should be your last resort, but it will be available for you as well. And lastly, I'm going to make a recommendation to start thinking about the job market from now. Go ahead and update your resume. Go ahead and start looking around, start networking on LinkedIn or whatever. If you really do think that this is a possibility, then I would recommend, don't let this happen before you start looking out there. Start putting out your resume, start talking to headhunters or whatever, depending on the industry you're in. I don't think you mentioned So you didn't mention what industry you're in. So depending on the industry, I would just start networking with your network, start talking to people. And if this layoff were to come, and you're already ahead of the game, I wouldn't wait until something like this happens. On top of that, the fact that there are layoffs going on, it could be a bad sign for the company. It could just be restructuring. That this happens quite often, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that something bad is happening with the company, but it might be time to spread your wings and see what else is out there anyway. So update your resume, start going out to networking, and figure out if maybe there's something better out there for you. Best of luck, and if you need any help, please reach out to me. Next question comes from Patricia. I'm 52 and I've had the same financial advisor for about 6 years. I realize he hasn't called me or reached out to me in almost 8 months. I called once and left a message and didn't hear back for a week. Is this normal? At one point, should I find someone else? To answer your question, no, that is not normal. 8 months of no contact is pretty rough. I don't like to speak poorly of other financial advisors because obviously I don't know what the situation is, but that's a situation that's inexcusable in any way, shape, or form. The way I run my practice is I like to talk with clients at least on a monthly basis, check in, see if anything's going on, give them an update if that's what they like. Some people don't want to hear, too often about the market and stuff like that. But that's perfectly fine. I at least like to do at the minimum, a quarterly review with them where we do review their accounts and make sure nothing has changed. And then on at least a year or on a yearly basis, meet face-to-face for a full-blown review and go over their financial plan, make any changes, or look to see if anything changed in their life. And I think that's important to stay in front of things, stay in front of clients, and make sure that nothing has changed. So if you are thinking about looking for somebody else, this is probably the time to start doing it. Think back on your conversations with them. Have they been proactive, or have they just been reactive to the market? Have they ever recommended things to you that made sense to you, or are they just trying to sell you a certain product of the month type situation? So yeah, this is probably the time where you'd want to look out for somebody. I think one of the most important things that a financial advisor has with a client is trust. If you don't trust the if you don't trust the advisor you're working with, then I think that's not a good sign, right? Like, this person should be a very important person in your life that's in charge of your money, possibly in charge of your, what you're going to leave to your heirs and whatnot. So I think it's important to trust the person. Just from this question that you're asking, it doesn't sound like you do trust them. And once you start losing that trust, it's kind of a slippery slope from there. It's probably time to start interviewing other people and seeing if there's a better fit out there for you. If you do decide you want to switch financial advisors, it's actually a very simple process. I think a lot of people think it's very cumbersome, but it's really not. You can meet with another financial advisor. If you'd like to meet with me, please reach out to me and we can schedule a Zoom call. You're in Tampa, so you're relatively close. But the transfer is very simple. You're going to open up accounts with a new financial advisor at whatever firm that they use for their accounts. And then you do the transfer of assets, and it's done through a system called ACAT, and it's all electronic. You don't really need to do anything in that sense. all the money transfers over, all the positions transfers over what's called in kind, which means no sales or anything are done. So there's no taxable event or anything like that if it's done correctly. Literally, it's just moving the account from one place to the other. The barrier there is really psychological. In reality, you don't even need to tell the current advisor you're leaving. That's up to you if you want to or not, depending on the relationship you have with the person. Doesn't seem like you have a relationship with this person. So, the process is fairly simple. It could be done within a week or two at the most. So I think you deserve a financial advisor that returns your phone call. A week is kind of ridiculous. My goal is to always call my clients back within one business day. That's my number one goal, one business day to call back. Usually it's within the same day, but you deserve an advisor that's a little bit more proactive, that reaches out to you and makes sure everything is still in place. So my recommendation to you would be to start looking for somebody else. Last question of the day here from Jasmine. I'm 31 and I just got a $50,000 inheritance from my grandfather. It's sitting in a savings account right now and I'm scared to touch it. I don't want to blow it. I have a little credit card debt, about $6,000, and I'm currently renting but thinking about buying a house eventually. What do I do? So being scared here is actually a good thing, right? So you didn't just go and blow it on a card or something like that. So it's perfectly fine. So you mentioned that you do have credit card debt, the $6,000 or so. I'm going to assume that's at a high interest because most of them are. So I think paying that down is your number one goal. That needs to be paid off immediately. The rest of it, so you said $4,000, so you have about $44,000. Next step is going to be your emergency account. Make sure you do have 3 to 6 months of emergency savings just in case something were to happen. You lose your job, you get in a car accident, so on and so forth. So whatever the 3 to 6 months is, that should be set aside in some sort of high yield savings account. And then the rest of it should be and could be invested. So you mentioned you want to buy a house. This is kind of always a precarious time for most people because you say you want to buy a house, but you really have to put a time frame on it, right? If you want to buy a house within 5 years, then most of that money should be invested. If you want to buy a house next year, then maybe that money should not be invested, only because you don't know what's going to happen in that 1 year, time frame. One of the most important things of investing, or one of the most important things we look at, is your time horizon. Time horizon is very, very important in investing because it tells us where we should be investing. If you have a 1 year time horizon versus a 20-year time horizon, the recommendation for investing is going to be greatly different. A 1 year time horizon, I'm probably going to tell you to just stick it in your savings account and be done with it. A 20-year time horizon, I'm going to tell you to probably be very aggressive with it and let's go all in on equities. But so I don't know, and you really need to pin down that time frame and make sure that you are going to buy the house in the short term. If you're not, and that's perfectly okay, there's nothing wrong with renting, then that money should be investing. You're young, it should probably be invested in the market at some point. So if you're not ready to invest in the, let's say, 1 to 2 years, I'm going to recommend maxing out a Roth IRA, and then the rest of it should go into a regular taxable brokerage account. And then inside the investments, you should speak to a professional or just take a look and see what it is that you're most comfortable with. So this money has potential to be life-changing money for you. If you don't end up buying the house and you start investing it now, you've got a really long time to grow that money. Using historical returns, you'll have a very, very nice amount of money in there by the time that you retire. Thanks for spending some time with me today. If this was helpful, or if any of the things we spoke about hit close to home, there's a link to my calendar in the description. Please reach out and we can talk. Thank you.